Good afternoon. Welcome to this special meeting of the Economic Development Committee. I'm joined by my colleague, Jose Huizar, and we are expecting another colleague shortly. But we're going to begin with general public comment. You'll have 1 minute. And it looks like first up is Corey Darcy, followed by Herman, followed by Raymond. 1 minute, please. General comment.
Hi, guys. Thanks for having us. I run the Ripley's, believe it or not, at the corner of Hollywood and Highland, so I see the commercial that we've become every day. Your visitors can't get across the walk of fame at all any longer. We have people walking out into the street to avoid the vendors. We have a gang of Bloods across the street that run the tables that are at the northwest side of Hollywood and Highland. It's become untenable. We have a good arrangement with the vendors that are in front of my particular establishment, but when you go across the street, it is dangerous, and it is getting to the point now where our businesses are unable to operate. We've seen several neighbors close, even in the past month, that can't afford to pay their bills because they can't compete with people with absolutely no overhead cost. We just desperately need somebody to get out there and start enforcing again. It's become, it's out of control. Any enforcement, any extra enforcement you can provide would really benefit our city. Thank you.
Thank you. We've been joined by Joe Buciano, who's changing chairs, little musical chairs in the house. Herman, speak your piece.
Well, regarding the pattern and practice, it's only livable if everyone was on the same process of due process when it comes to paying for their permits. Unfortunately, there are those who like to be, liars, maliciously say that they have a permit and they don't, violate sidewalk ordinances, but say people have to work. And these people that, like myself, a fucking wetback, want to work. And what's upsetting is that dumb niggers like you put these bullshit ordinances together just to fuck up our lives. No one ever had an issue about selling elote on the street. No one ever had an issue about me selling beer on the street. No one ever had an issue of me smoking my Measure 64 on the street and having recreational fun. But now you motherfuckers come out with your stupid rules. Fuck you, 42 U.S.C. 1983. Thank you.
Raymond, next up, and Lisa Korbetov.
Hi, I'm a community member from Lita. Since the city council decriminalized vending, it has impacted our community huge. We had difficulties keeping our communities clean. Now that this has came about, our communities are just destroyed. People coming in through our communities, unhealthy. We got alcoholics coming in buying tacos, and it's unhealthy for our children. Our children can't even walk the sidewalks, can't even go run through these communities anymore. So, yes, taking consideration that, our area, we had very few. Now we're just overran by a lot of these vendors, and it's hurting our communities a lot. Thank you.
Thank you. Lisa?
Thank you for your time. As a member of the Downtown Property Owners Association, I'm here as a private citizen and as a property owner in the Santee Maple Alley. What I want to say to you is we support the sidewalk vending framework put forth by council members Buciano and Price more than a year ago, which the City Council conceptually approved. However, we believe there should be 2 vendors per block in commercial and industrial areas. They should be stationary vendors. Property owner or business owner consent is critical and vital to a successful vending program. You need buy-in. In a city as diverse and dynamic as Los Angeles, there is a need for special vending districts so that areas with distinct needs can establish regulations that meet their specific needs. The city needs to appoint one entity to enforce the regulations. It must also have inspectors work evenings and weekends, as this is when a good amount of the vending occurs. We need oversight. Vendors must be required to carry liability insurance and show proof of it and indemnify both the city and the property business owners. Vendors should be required to pay business tax, as we all do, and additional fees if they are located in a business improvement district. Thank you.
Thank you. Hassan? I, Hassan. Jamie G. Jaime? Okay. Hassan? Jaime? Jaime. Yes, sir.
Good afternoon. My name is Jaime Gallo. Thank you for seeing me. Here from our Lita, and I'm the president of our Lita Neighborhood Council. We had submitted an impact statement, if I could approach. I have a copy. We just had a town hall meeting regarding quality of life. The problem we have with the street vendors, their cleanliness, they just do not follow the rules. People, homeowners, our property value just has gone really bad. So we like to oppose, or we just we don't want it in our neighborhood. There was a time, there was a cute, if you see one truck, but now we're being overrun with food trucks, street vending, and it's just the clientele just leave trash. And we are just trying to get our quality of life. They block sidewalks. We've been completely telling everybody. So thank you for your time.
Thank you. Hassan?
My name is Iqbal Hassan. I'm with Quantum Associates. I've been a broker in the downtown Los Angeles Fashion District since 1987. I represent numerous landlords, tenants in the neighborhood. The concept of street vending will not only impact the tenants that are in our buildings, it has a lot of implications for property owners and for tenants. Anything that can be done that will incorporate what they need, in other words, the needs of the tenants along with the needs of the property owners, which in this particular instance go hand in hand, need to be enhanced and thoroughly investigated so that you don't want to create a situation where you've done a street vending district and now all of a sudden the tenants that are in there suffer from them not being able to do what they need to do. Street vending districts do work very well in areas that don't have a lot of foot traffic. It brings and rejuvenates neighborhoods and so forth. We already have a lot of traffic in that area, so it needs to be contained and controlled in cooperation with the owners and the tenants there. Thank you.
All right, thank you. That concludes our general public comment. Thank you for your input. We're going to close the general comment and move to item 1. Mr. Clerk.
Item number 1 is a report from the Chief Legislative Analyst relative to the proposed city sidewalk vending program.
Thank you. It's been 5 months since we last discussed this issue of sidewalk vending. During that time, concerns have been presented to the council on a framework of a program that I felt needed to be addressed before we go to the full council for a vote. And we've these past several months have gotten input from businesses, from vendors, from proponents, from opponents, and from those who were just curious. That's why I requested the issue come back to the Economic Development Committee to make sure that we get this program right and create a fair system that takes into account both vendors and the business community. So today we're going to take public comment first, and then hear from the CLA, and then we'll make our committee recommendations. Colleagues, any comments at this point? Okay, then let's move on to public comment. You'll have, again, 1 minute to state your piece, and we will begin with so first up, Corey Dacey. Corey Dacey, Herman, Jesse, Fernando, and Hector.
Hi, guys. It's me again. I would really just like to stress the need for immediate enforcement of all of the things that were put forward. The work you did was essential. It was important. It's going to be good for everybody, but we're being overrun. Once again, it's not safe. It's created conditions that couldn't have been thought of in the first place. People are walking out into the street. That's the biggest thing I can't even stress to you. We have 10,000 people going through our intersection, and thousands of them are walking into oncoming traffic to avoid the large wall of vendors that has been created there. It's impacting all of us. That's all I got. I'm easy, guys. Thank you.
Thank you.
Please help.
Thank you for comment. Herman?
So another disaster, economic failure by the city of Los Angeles and this commission. Why? Tell you why. Because people that are disabled, people with their children, people with their grandparents out trying to shop are an inconvenience because fools like you can't follow the ADA 2010 standards to make a pathway or a path of travel or a sidewalk open for public use. But you would rather have me walk retardedly into the oncoming street, fall off a curb, slip and fall so I could come here and sue this goddamn rotten fucking city for not taking care of business on behalf of people that want an honest living, selling shit on the sidewalk, and business owners who want you to give them a break on their taxes and their permits. It's simple. So on behalf of all the two sides of the population here, fuck you white niggers too.
Jesse? I'm sorry. Jesse? Yeah, or Jesse. Or Jesse R.
Thank you there, sir. For almost 2 years, a taco vendor has been spilling grease, detergents, unknown chemicals, and contaminated water directly onto the soil that is adjacent to the Pacoima spreading grounds at Woodman Avenue and Fillmore Street in the community of Arleta. The spreading grounds is a water conservation facility, and the soil is permeable as water percolates through the ground to replenish groundwater. This food vendor has continuously been polluting the groundwater, and I am appalled that this crime against the environment continues unabated. Where's the city, county, and state in enforcing environmental laws, health laws, tax laws, and the regulation of this type of commerce? There needs to be an armed police enforcement component dedicated to enforcing street vending regulations and real consequences for those that don't follow the laws. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Fernando.
Hi there, members. This is my first time here in this board, and I really appreciate your time. I am a resident of the city of Arleta. I'm also a business owner of 5 different businesses, one of them being an investigation company in itself. I read this proposal, and I'm looking at everything, and I always look at things from a business standpoint. I really feel, looking at this, our biggest concern is residents. And when you look at any law, you have to really read the law, and you have to read every single word. And the big word there is street vending, sidewalk vending. Now, on this actual proposal, on this attachment 1, it says, and limited mobile vending in residential areas. That is our concern. That is a big gripe for us. Not only that, but I feel also bad for people who own businesses. Why do they pay so much taxes? Why do they go through all the headaches of incorporating and having a POS system in which you can track? A lot of these businesses, these street vendors, you don't have a POS system. It's not considered what you consider a economic opportunity. It's more of a tax evading advantage because it's cash.
Thank you for your comments.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Hector? Suzanne Holly? Armando Flores?
Hello, my name is Hector, and I'm here with my neighbors as well regarding the taco vendor. This taco vendor has caused so many issues in our area with our neighbors. One, he stations himself right on the sidewalk where families used to walk with their kids to the park. Now families need to walk along the bike path against traffic because this taco vendor, along with all his equipment, is out there blocking the path, the walk path to the park. On top of that, people used to walk in the mornings and run in the mornings to the park for their daily exercise. They can't walk around this area anymore because the taco vendor is putting all this grease, hazardous waste, and dumping it all on the floor. Now, in the mornings, early in the mornings, you see rodents around there eating the food from the house. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for your comments.
Hi, my name is Suzanne Hawley, and I represent the Downtown Center Business Improvement District. We support the framework that was originally put forth more than a year ago, but emphasize that certain elements must be included for the program to be successful for all stakeholders. We believe that vending must be limited to 2 vendors per block, that they must be stationary, and that property owner consent be required. The city attorney has stated that this is not a legal issue, but a policy one. It can be done in a way that is streamlined and does not represent an unreasonable hurdle for the vendors. We also believe that in a city as large as Los Angeles, there must be a clear process to establish special vending districts. Finally, it is critically important that adequate enforcement be in place to ensure that these requirements are met so that the investments of both property owners and the vendors are protected. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Mike?
Good afternoon. My name is Armando Flores, Legislative Affairs Manager with the Valley Industry and Commerce Association, VICA. We applaud the efforts and commend the hard work that has been invested in developing a comprehensive sidewalk vending program. But VICA's vision for a sidewalk vending policy includes limiting the number of vending permits issued, designating zones for sidewalk vending, requiring the consent of brick and mortar businesses, and ensuring sidewalk vendors pay their fair share in taxes and fees. Small businesses in the San Fernando Valley and across the city have competed with sidewalk vendors for years, requiring vendors to receive consent from brick and mortar businesses, along with creating designated vending locations will appropriately limit the number of vendors and prevent a disproportionate concentration of street vendors in certain communities. It is important that the city allocate additional staff to oversee the regulation and enforcement of sidewalk vending. Proper enforcement is needed to carry out a successful sidewalk vending program. We want to ensure that businesses are able to operate with as little disruption as possible. We urge you to craft a strong and comprehensive program that will be impartial to both brick and mortar businesses and sidewalk vendors. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Michael Nazal, Pauline Jimenez, Ana Maria Gill.
Hello, I'm Michael Nazal. I represent the property owner on the southwest corner of Hollywood and Highland in the Hollywood Entertainment District. I'm here to ask for expedited ordinance on street vending. We already have to deal with the city, the CD vendors, the people dressed up in costumes, and now having people set up their makeshift tables on the boulevard with no rules or permits in front of the stores, adversely affecting our tenants. I don't know how someone who has a market and has to pay rent and business fees and licenses, who has to sell a bottle of water for $2 can compete with somebody who sits in front of his store with a cooler that doesn't pay any money and sells it for $1. So I'm asking that you please expedite it because it's been a year now that we've been waiting for an ordinance of some sort to be passed. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mi nombre es Ana María Gil. Gracias por la oportunidad de permitirme venir a hablar aquí.
My name is Ana Maria Gil. Thank you so much for the opportunity to allow me to speak here.
Yo me estoy preguntando, traen 3 cartelones con fotos, son 6, 18, 20 fotos. ¿En qué territorio tomaron esas fotos y qué extensión de propiedad o de terreno tomaron esas fotos.
What I'm asking myself is they are bringing three big, signs here that has some photograph, and I want to know where were those photographs taken and what is the extension, what city, what location is those photographs taken?
Pues yo estoy ahí en el área de Pacoima y Arleta. Veo poca gente caminando por las calles, por el vecindario. Yo veo más gente caminando en el parque Richie Valens.
You know, I am in the city of Arleta, and I see very few people walking there. I see more people walking in the Richie Valley Park. So, basically that's it.
O en el Hansen Dam también. O también en el Hansen Dam.
And also in Hansen Dam.
Nos podemos poner a dialogar porque necesitamos, pues, urgen esos permisos. Son muchas familias que vivimos de la venta ambulante.
We can talk, we can have a conversation because this is really urgent. There are a lot of families that actually need to have this permit now.
Estamos dispuestos a dialogar para tener regulaciones y mantener las ciudades limpias.
We are willing and able to talk to you to have regulations so we can keep the city very clean.
Urgen estos permisos porque siguen habiendo tickets y que pues nos empobrecen más a las familias pobres.
This is very important that we have this regulation enacted now because we're getting a lot of tickets and all our families are getting really poor.
Okay, gracias. Gracias. Okay. Andrew Kratzer. We call Andrew. Colleen Jimenez. 1 minute, please.
Good afternoon, council members. Andrew Kratzer with the Building Owners and Managers Association of Greater LA. We represent 300 commercial office owners throughout the county. We appreciate the amount of work that has gone into the development of this complicated ordinance. Council members have worked hard to respond to the needs of all stakeholders. We agree with the recommendation of 2 vendors per block. It allows for enough space without direct competition from many other vendors, and it's easier to enforce compared to a distance requirement. Beyond any competition issues, commercial building owners are now responsible for maintaining the sidewalk under the Sidewalk Repair Ordinance. Thus, they have a clear legal interest in commercial activity around their property. Finally, while the report names the ground floor tenant as the entity that will provide input to the vendor approval process, we believe that the building owner should be the contact point. Retail tenants come and go, while owners have long-term interest in the commercial activities surrounding their buildings. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. I'm Colleen Jimenez, and I represent the Hollywood Roosevelt Hotel, historic hotel down right on Hollywood Boulevard, Walk of Fame. We are asking that you expedite this ordinance so that we have some control over the chaos. It seems like it's grown exponentially, and it is very dangerous. For our guests, for our employees, a lot of our employees ride the Metro Red Line, and they're walking in the street because they have no interest in what the vendors are selling, but they want to get to work on time and they can't get through. For the guests of the hotel, they walk out the front door of the hotel and it's chaos and intimidating, and they turn right back in and decide to do something else. They don't want to walk the boulevard. So we ask that you get some control that's enforceable and keeps our streets clean and safe. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Isabel Rodriguez, Caridad Vasquez, Martha Castro, Eileen Ortiz.
Buenas tardes. Mi nombre es Alejandra Rodríguez.
Good afternoon, my name is Alejandra Rodriguez.
Señores concejales, estamos aquí para negociar.
City Council members, we're here to negotiate with you.
Que dejen nuestra área de Hollywood. Estamos cansados de la policía.
Please leave our area in Hollywood alone. We are so tired of the police.
Tenemos mucho tiempo trabajando aquí en Hollywood.
We have a lot of time working now in Hollywood.
Yo he sido acosada por la policía. Ustedes son madres y padres. Pónganse un día en mi lugar.
I have been harassed a lot by the police. You guys are mothers and fathers. Please put yourself in my situation.
Estamos en un tiempo muy racista, que es la ola de Trump. Queremos que pare ya.
We are undergoing a racist era, and this is the Trump era, and we want this to stop.
Y también queremos que no excluya nuestra área de Hollywood,
I don't want you to please exclude Hollywood area
de nuestra área de venta.
from our sale area.
Thank you.
Buenas tardes, señores concejales, señor Price, José Guizar. A nombre de todos ustedes, mi nombre es Caridad Vázquez y soy vendedora ambulante en Boyle Heights.
Good afternoon, City Council members, Mr. Price, Mr. Wizard, everyone here. My name is Caridad Vázquez, and I'm a street vendor in Boyle Heights.
Como siempre, tenemos 9 años en esta lucha, siendo discriminados, estoy escuchando cómo nos están atacando, en vez de ayudarnos que nos llegue a una legalización para poder trabajar como debe de ser, no que nos estén discriminando, que echamos basura. Esa es una vil mentira.
As a matter of fact, we are being discriminated over and over. They're lying. We don't throw trash. That's a big lie, and we don't want to be discriminated.
Así como ellos son trabajadores, también nosotros somos madres, familias trabajadoras que estamos sustento día tras día. Por eso deben de analizarnos que necesitamos una legalización para poder trabajar legalmente y no nos vuelvan a discriminar como lo están haciendo ahorita.
The same way they're workers, we're also workers, we're mothers, we're parents, and we really need to be legalized so we can work right now and we can do this the right way. Thank you.
Tomen en conciencia los que tienen dinero y los que trabajamos al día. Muchas gracias.
Please take conscience of everyone that works, everybody that has money, and we're working.
Thank you. Thank you for your comments. Martha Castro, Bilene Ortiz, Merced Sanchez, and Samari Sanchez.
Buenas tardes, señores concejales, gusto en conocerlos. Mi nombre es Marta Castro. Por X razón y de salud me quedé sin trabajo. Empecé mi propio negocio de la venta ambulante y me ha gustado mucho mi ambiente. Me gustaría que un día fueran a mi área para que vean que no es lo que ellos están diciendo. Mi área es un ejemplo.
Good afternoon, City Council members. I'm so glad to meet you guys. My name is Marta Castro. For some reason, I lost my job and I started my own business. I am a street vendor, and that's why I really like my job, and I would like for you guys to come to create a special district. And I think that 2 vendors per street.
Y le estoy pidiendo un distrito especial para mis compañeros. Quiero demostrarles a ellos que no es lo que ellos dicen, la imagen no es lo que ellos siempre nos quieren estar abajo. Nosotros podemos trabajar en algo justo.
As a matter of fact, we would like to have a special district created. I think that for our image, we want to be able to demonstrate to you that we're doing the best we can, and please, we would like to have this resolved.
Y me gustaría mucho la oportunidad que nos dejen sobresalir, que vean que podemos trabajar bien.
As a matter of fact, I would like to have the opportunity to let us work, and we can show you that we can actually do this work the right way.
Muchas gracias.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Buenas tardes, honorable concilio. Mi nombre es Merced Sánchez y soy muy orgullosamente vendedora ambulante del distrito de La Piñata por más de 9 años.
Good afternoon, Honorable City Council. My name is Mercedes Sanchez. I am a street vendor. I'm very proud of being a street vendor of the district of Piñata for more than 9 years.
Estamos aquí pidiendo que no apoyen el veto al negocio.
We are here to ask to please do not support the ban to this business.
Queremos que ustedes le quiten el poder que hoy tienen los negocios, porque en este momento ustedes no saben lo que pasa afuera.
We are here to ask you to please to take all the power that they have the businesses, because right now you really don't know what's going on out there.
En mi área de trabajo nos extorsionan, nos intimidan. En cualquier momento, si no queremos pagar renta, llaman a la policía.
In the area where I work, they're extorting us, they're harassing us, and if we don't pay the rent that they're demanding, they go ahead and call the police.
Yo he sido excluida de mi área de trabajo por no querer pagar una renta.
I was excluded from my area of work because I didn't want to pay the rent.
Estoy a favor de un veto del negocio para sentirme más segura en mi área de trabajo.
I am in favor of a ban of the business so I can feel more secure in my area of work.
Y no ser más extorsionada por los dueños de negocios y que me vuelvan a desplazar de mi espacio.
I don't want to be extorted anymore by the business owners, and I don't want to lose the space where I work.
Mi pregunta es, señores concejales, ¿qué pasará durante el tiempo en que se decide el proceso del veto al negocio? ¿Vamos a poder seguir trabajando?
The question that I have right now is during the time that you're deciding what to do with this business or not, what are we going to do? Are we going to continue working or not?
Muchas gracias. Muchas gracias.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Buenas tardes, señores concejales. Mi nombre es Belén Ortiz y soy vendedora ambulante. Tengo 5 años vendiendo y vendo en la 47 y Main.
Good afternoon, City Council member. My name is Belén Ortiz. I am a street vendor, and I have been working at the District 5.
Y estamos luchando por un permiso para que nos dejen vender y no madrugar al puesto, que tenemos que llegar temprano, porque si no llegamos temprano no podemos vender.
What we're fighting right now for is to have a legalized street vending permit, so we don't have to be coming so early to find a little place to work.
También estamos luchando, no queremos 2 vendedores por cuadra, porque nos quedaríamos 2 vendedores por cuadra cuando hacemos como 30 o más, y los otros.
Okay, and we're also fighting for this number. We don't want 2 street vendors per block because we're like 30 people, and what are we going to do with all the excess of people that we have?
Es nuestro trabajo y queremos que nos den un permiso. Si ustedes nos dan un permiso, nosotros podemos pagar taxis como ustedes quieren.
It is our work, it is our job, and if you give us a permit, we can work, and we also can pay taxes like the way you want it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Buenas tardes, concejales. Mi nombre es Samaidi Sánchez. Soy una mamá soltera de una niña de 6 años. Yo soy vendedora ambulante en la área de Hollywood.
Good afternoon, City Council member. My name is Samai Sanchez. I am a single mother, and I am a street vendor in the city of Hollywood.
Estoy en contra de que ustedes excluyan como concejales el área donde yo trabajo, que es Hollywood.
I am against that you exclude Hollywood. This is the area where I work.
Es una banqueta pública, al igual que todas. Para mí esto sería una discriminación en contra de mi persona el seguir vendiendo en Hollywood.
This is an open sidewalk. This would be a discrimination against me if you don't allow me to work over there.
Yo no le pido nada al gobierno, contribuyo al contrario con la economía del país al ser un microempresa.
I am not asking anything from the government. As a matter of fact, I'm contributing to the country because I am creating a small business.
Mi trabajo es digno y estoy aquí para que ustedes nos apoyen. Sin vendedores ambulantes, California no sería un estado como el que es ahora. Tendríamos una déficit en la economía.
As a matter of fact, I'm here because I find my work is really dignifiable, and I think that we, the small businesses, are contributing to California, and if California doesn't have businesses like us, it will not survive.
We are strong, we are here, and we're going to win this fight. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Isabel Rodriguez, Agueda Garcia, Katie McKeon, Cesar Palma.
Buenas tardes, señores concejales. Mi nombre es Isabel Rodríguez, soy vendedora ambulante.
Good afternoon, City Council members. My name is Isabel Rodriguez. I am a street vendor.
Ya tenemos 9 años pidiéndoles a ustedes que nos apoyen.
We are asking you for the past 9 years to help us, to support us.
Estamos aquí para que nos den un permiso legalizar nuestra venta ambulante.
We're here so you can give us a permit, so you can legalize our street vending.
No estamos de acuerdo en 2 vendedores por acera.
We do not agree to have 2 street vendors per block.
Somos muchos vendedores con necesidad.
We're a lot of vendors that have a lot of necessity.
También estamos aquí porque no estamos de acuerdo en el veto de negocios. Los negocios establecidos son los que nos extorsionan.
Okay, we are not here because we don't want you to the ban of the business, because the established businesses are the ones that are blocking us.
Nosotros somos estables y les pido de favor que lo piensen, porque ustedes están ahorita de paso y queremos tener un buen recuerdo de ustedes.
We're stable, and you will be changing positions, and we want to have a good memory of you as city council members.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Buenas tardes, señores del concilio. Mi nombre es Águeda García y soy vendedora ambulante del área de Alvarado.
Good afternoon, City Council members. My name is Águeda Garcia, and I am a street vendor in the area of Alvarado.
No estamos de acuerdo en cuanto a la legalización de 2 vendedores por cuadra, ya que somos más de 50,000 trabajando como microempresas, contribuyendo a la economía de esta ciudad.
We do not agree to have 2 vendors per block, as we are more than 50,000 working as micro businesses, and we are contributing to the economy of this city.
Les pedimos que legalicen la venta ambulante haciendo distritos especiales, ya que todos nosotros dependemos de esto para sacar adelante nuestras familias.
We are asking you to please legalize the street vending and to create special districts, because all of us are depending on this to support our families.
También para cubrir nuestros gastos y necesidades tales como alimento, vestido, vivienda, etc.
So we can also pay for our expenses, so we can pay for our housing, meals, and etc.
Y les venimos pidiendo también que descriminalicen la venta ambulante, porque en el área de Alvarado hay mucha violencia contra los vendedores ambulantes.
And we are asking you to please to decriminalize the street vending, because in the area of Alvarado there is a lot of violence against the street vendors.
La policía nos estresa y estamos trabajando honradamente, no le robamos a nadie, no somos criminales, somos gente trabajadora.
We are working honorably. We are not criminals. We are not stealing from anybody, and the police is really stressing us.
Gracias. Thank you very much.
Buenas tardes, señores legisladores del comité. Mi nombre es César Palma. Tengo 24 años de estar vendiendo entre las 7 y el Alvarado.
Good afternoon, City Council members. My name is Cesar Palma. I have 24 years selling as a street vendor in the street in 7th and Alvarado.
Y estoy aquí para pedirle su apoyo, para que nos apoyen al no al veto de negocios.
And we're here to ask you to please to support us, to say no to the ban to the business.
Y tampoco apoyamos a 2 vendedores por cuadra porque corremos peligro de ser extorsionados.
We do not support the 2 street vendors per block, because we are going to be extorted.
Pero sí apoyamos los distritos especiales.
But actually we are supporting the special districts.
Somos un grupo organizados, preparados para crear organización, para pagar impuestos y apoyar a un programa de permisos justos.
We are a group that we're organized, so we can create this group, and we can go ahead and pay taxes and create a program of permits that is fair for everyone.
y queremos que por favor el camino que llevamos va muy despacio, pero la verdad es de que no queremos que vaya a cambiar de carril porque no queremos que en el futuro vayan a querer criminalizar la venta de las vías de las aceras.
And we're asking you to please, if we can't resolve this, because we don't want this to change in the future and end up being criminalized and criminalize the street vending, please. Thank you.
Gracias. Muchas gracias.
Good afternoon. My name is Katie McEwen, and I'm an attorney with Public Counsel. We are a proud member of the LA Street Vending Coalition. I'd like to reiterate a couple of points made in our March 8th letter sent to your offices by several legal organizations that highlight the numerous legal concerns that we have with the property owner veto. First, the California Constitution clearly states that legislatures, such as the LA City Council, cannot pass municipal functions off to private persons or entities. The City Council cannot give full power to a private business owner to wield as he or she wishes. It is an abdication of the city authority. Second, the city cannot engage in economic protectionism by favoring one business owner over another. This type of naked restraint of trade has been struck down before, right here in the city of LA, when the city attempted to protect brick and mortar businesses from competition from food trucks back in the 70s. Please remove the property owner veto and create an equitable system for all.
Okay, Reverend Carolyn Wilkins, Claire Fox, Lisa Korbatov, Gustavo Martinez, and Ariana Gomez.
Good afternoon. I'm Reverend Carolyn Wilkins, and I'm a member of Clue Power, a group of women, clergy, and lay leaders who strongly believe that we have a spiritual responsibility and an imperative to uplift the voices of women, workers who are oppressed and face discrimination in the streets of Los Angeles. We strongly support a fair citywide permit program to legalize and regulate sidewalk vending, and we believe the implementation of a fair citywide permit program for street vendors is a matter of economic justice and both immigrant and women's rights. As fairly permitted vendors, women can provide for their families and perform dignified work that promotes safety, fairness, and justice. Today, Mayor Garcetti, in his State of the City, said that Los Angeles is a city of immigrants. He also said that the streets belong to all of us. I implore you to join us as a mandate to support legalized street vendors in Los Angeles.
Thank you. Thank you for your
And
comments.
the legalization of street vending is a matter of dignity and economic justice for women. We need and ask for your support.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, council members. Thanks for having us. I'm Claire Fox. I'm with the Los Angeles Food Policy Council, here to support a citywide fair sidewalk vending program. We need to embrace street vendors as a part of our community and as a part of our food economy. The framework before you does provide tools to be able to meet the diverse needs of diverse communities, including special vending districts. But these tools need to be used judiciously and not as tools of harm and exclusion and discrimination against vendors. We support the provision in the framework around incentives for healthy food carts. Healthy food vendors are a part of expanding access to healthy food in neighborhoods who are otherwise denied that option. And finally, we do oppose the property owner veto provision in the framework. We're fearful that this will lead to increased harassment and extortion of vendors. And as you've seen today, the majority of these vendors are women, so that adds another gendered justice dimension to this element. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'd just like to say that almost virtually all the tenants in the Fashion District, especially in the Santee Maple Alley, are immigrants. Most of their employees are immigrants. Many of the property owners are immigrants. Many of these people started out as swap meets and they rose up to be able to afford to rent a store and pay all the ancillary expenses with stores. But I'd like to say to you that all tides lift all boats. If you in some way create an imbalance, our tenants cannot stay open. They are being blocked on the sidewalk. They're complaining to us. The rents keep getting lowered. Eventually, they can't make it, they go. When the tax base decreases, what happens to city functions? What happens to the overall condition of the city and its infrastructure? It goes away. So understand that we're all here to work together to create equality and parity and all the nice things we want. But if we, through poor legislation and bad policy and the lack of enforcement, kill the business sector, it won't come back. And it certainly won't come back in the same way. So please be thoughtful about this. It's very critical. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Ariana Gomez. I'm here on behalf of the Fashion District Bid. We're a nonprofit that provides cleaning, safety, marketing, and advocates on behalf of our stakeholders. The Fashion District Bid represents over 4,000 businesses and over 1,000 property owners. We support the sidewalk vending framework that was conceptually approved by City Council. The Fashion District has a lot of sidewalk vending, and we really believe that in order for the program to be successful, there should be 2 stationary vendors per block in commercial and industrial areas, and that property owner consent must be mandatory. Because Los Angeles is so diverse and there are so many different areas with different needs, we think it's important that there be special vending districts that allow each area to establish the regulations that they need to meet their needs. The city should appoint one entity to enforce regulations and have inspectors work evenings and weekends, which is when we see most of the street vending happening. Vendors should be required to carry liability insurance and identify both property and or business owners, and also pay any fees that the businesses are obligated to pay as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Faustino Martinez, Nicole, Rudy, Carrie, Morrison, Mike Harkins, and Alwyn Kushner. Nicole, come on.
Good afternoon. On behalf of the Hollywood Chamber of Commerce and our over 800 members, I'm here to respectfully ask for your help in bringing immediate and much-needed enforcement resources and tools to Hollywood Boulevard and the historic Hollywood Walk of Fame, while the city continues to work on finalizing the citywide vending ordinance. The Chamber is appreciative of the work that has been done by this committee in moving towards the adoption of a sidewalk vending ordinance that will provide protections for the Walk of Fame and other similarly sensitive sites around the city. However, the delay in adoption of the vending ordinance, compounded with the city's policy to decriminalize vending activity, has led to a free-for-all on Hollywood Boulevard. With no enforcement in place, the sidewalk has become so congested that tourists are regularly seen walking in the streets to get around the blockage, creating a hazardous situation and potentially huge liability issue for the city. This is especially problematic for senior visitors and those with disabilities. For our business owners and tourists alike, the situation has become a very real public safety situation, and we need enforcement now. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, good afternoon. Councilman Huizar, Price, Buscaino. My name is Rudy Espinoza, and I'm excited that this is moving forward. Thank you for scheduling this committee meeting. The first thing that I'd like to say is that the sidewalks in our city are a public resource. Everybody should have an opportunity to use them and to walk on them. And I don't believe, the LA Street Vendor Campaign does not believe that property owners should have the power to ban people on sidewalks. And so I'd like to suggest that we amend the proposal and say no to the business veto. The second thing I'd like to say is I'm hearing the comments about the business sector. Street vendors are part of the business sector too. They are entrepreneurs, and we should not criminalize them. So as the proposal moves forward, I hope that this committee and the council moves forward to protect these entrepreneurs that add a ton of value to our communities. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. I'm Carrie Morrison with the Hollywood Entertainment District BID. Council members, it's taking so long to draft this ordinance, and I know it's very complicated, but we are losing Hollywood Boulevard. There's a palpable loss of order on the street right now, and a loss of order creates a sense of unsafety and just uncivil behavior. The only enforcement option available to the LAPD is the ACE, Administrative Code Enforcement. They have been trying valiantly to utilize that option, but there are chronic offenders out there who know that it does not have any teeth. 500 ACE citations have been issued since Labor Day, and the problem has actually gotten worse. And I invite you to look at TripAdvisor. It'll just break your heart. Just scroll, just put Hollywood Boulevard, Hollywood Walk of Fame, just one. Disgusting. This is just from a couple months ago. Definitely not what we expected. It was disgusting. I live near New Orleans, and even Bourbon Street was more pleasant. So many people soliciting. It got so out of hand that we just left after eating. Couldn't even look at the stars. It is so crowded. We have a tourist destination that is being tarnished. Please do something immediately to help us.
Thank you.
Thank you, council members. My name is Mike Harkins. I'm the Assistant General Manager of Hollywood and Highland, and also representing the Dolby Theater, Ground Zero, for this. I'm here today to ask for your assistance. We need your help. There's anarchy on the streets of Hollywood Boulevard. It needs to be corrected. It needs to be done in a fair but firm and safe manner. That's what I'm here to ask you to do. No action is unacceptable. We need your help. I have the ability to retire tomorrow if I wanted to, but I'm not going to. I refuse to leave Hollywood in a state in worse shape than when I started, and I implore each and every one of you to do the same. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, thanks for having me today. I'm Alwyn Haidt-Kushner, President and COO of the TCL Chinese Theaters in Hollywood. We get over 5 million visitors every single year just to our forecourt. There are millions of visitors that come from all around the world to enjoy Hollywood, and it's become absolute chaos out there. There's no space for people to walk. I've actually seen families with children having to walk into the street because there's not enough space on the sidewalk for them to walk and enjoy the stars and the boulevard. It's really unsafe, it's dangerous, and that's ultimately going to hurt everyone in the area, the whole community. So I implore you, please do something now to help us, because this is just absolute chaos. We can't live like this. Thank you.
Thank you. Tay Sonder, Corinne Rogan, and Carla DePlas.
Good afternoon. Thank you very much for having us here today. My name is Tage Sunder. I'm one of the owners of the Hollywood Wax Museum, one of Hollywood's proudest tenants, and I've been really challenged of late with what's going on there. We have thousands and thousands of tourists that come visit us every day, and they're leaving really dissatisfied because they're walking down Hollywood Boulevard and not feeling the magic that's there. They're getting pushed into the streets. They're getting challenged on every front. So I'd really wish you guys would start enforcing some of these issues. The visitor experience is being completely challenged. We have attractions throughout the U.S., and you would not believe how that is impacting our tourists, and people are coming to us just befuddled with what is going on. And also, one of the major reasons everybody's coming to Hollywood Boulevard is the Great Walk of Fame, a historic monument, and that is being really challenged on the Saturday nights, Friday nights. You cannot see it at all. So I really want you guys to really look at trying to start enforcing things as soon as possible. I thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Hi folks, I'm Corinne Rogan. I'm not a shop owner on Hollywood Boulevard, but I am a member of the Hollywood Chamber of Commerce. I walk Hollywood Boulevard, and even in the daytime, it seems a little dangerous. At all times, there are too many people, street vendors, trying to get anyone and everyone's attention. I'm very grateful and aware of the importance of the tourism industry. I love that every person coming into Hollywood leaves, and they're fully entertained, and they leave Hollywood with a great big smile. But I'd like some of these ordinances taken care of so that we can all have a better time in Hollywood. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Carla de Paz. I'm the Community Organizing Director for the East LA Community Corporation. ELAC has worked with vendors for almost 10 years, being guided by their determination to be able to do their work legally. And I'm very disheartened to hear public comments here talk about vendors as if they're not capable to solve issues, as if they are a plague and not human beings. When they've been coming to these meetings, they've been fighting for years to be able to negotiate, to mediate, to find solutions that work for everyone. Vendors in Hollywood Boulevard would be more than happy to sit down with business entities to discuss how we can solve the issues on Hollywood Boulevard, but I urge council, I urge this committee not to create policies based on exclusion, once again redlining our city and also encouraging extortion, as is the case with the business veto. I urge you to remove the business veto from the proposal and also Hollywood Boulevard from the list of no vending zones, and instead encourage small business owners and street vendors to mediate solutions that work for all entities. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Doug Smith, Martha Saucedo, Marie Rumsey, Jamie Gallo, and Ms. Brown Shaneka.
Good afternoon, Doug Smith, Public Counsel. I want to start by thanking the committee for taking the step to look at the various aspects of this complex policy program and working to get the details right. As you consider adjustments to the current proposed framework, we urge you to think about how we can make this program as successful as possible from the start. There are dozens of vendors in this room and countless others across the city who are ready to start working under a fair set of legal rules and regulations on day one. But that won't be possible if the policy includes discriminatory programs that give private property owners unfair ability to veto or exclude a vendor from seeking a permit. Permit vetoes or onerous appeal procedures that cause indefinite delays will hamstring the program before it even begins. So we urge you to eliminate the property owner veto provision, and we ask that you continue to support our immigrant communities and our low-income entrepreneurs with an enforcement program that does not unjustly criminalize vendors. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. I want to thank the committee chair and committee members for addressing this important issue. I'm here representing AG, Martha Saucedo, and I'm here to support the framework that you set previously and that's in the CLA report, which made several recommendations, including a prohibition on street vending around a certain radius of large public venues and impacted areas such as Staples Center. We appreciate the recognition that these large public venues have unique public safety needs and are not an appropriate site for street vending. With over 20 million visitors a year and being a major tourist destination, it is imperative that we provide sidewalks that allow for the efficient movement of large numbers of individuals in a safe manner. Since the city decriminalized street vending, we have seen a substantial increase in illegal street vending in the areas around Staples Center and LA Live. The number of street vendors at times has been significant enough that ingress and egress has been impacted and emergency exit areas had to be cleared by both our security and law enforcement. Our security cameras captured video showing a propane tank on a cart exploding. We urge you to provide immediate relief to heavily impacted areas and to provide meaningful and immediate enforcement tools which will allow us to maintain a safe environment. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Marie Rumsey, and I'm here on behalf of the Central City Association. We appreciate that you are taking this item up today and want to encourage you to move forward with the vending program as soon as possible. We also appreciate the effort to bring immediate relief to areas heavily impacted by vending. CCA supports the vending framework put forth by Council Members Price and Buscaino over a year ago and believes it represents a balanced approach. Thank you for your consideration, and please move forward with the vending program soon.
Thank you. Okay, do we have Ms. Brown Shaneka? City Watch, Rosa Miranda, Roberto Cibalos, and Carmina Calderon.
Buenas tardes, miembros de este comité.
Good afternoon, City Council members.
Mi nombre es Rosa Miranda, soy organizadora con la campaña de Legalicemos la Venta Ambulante aquí en Los Ángeles.
My name is Rosa Miranda. I am an organizer with the campaign of Legalize Street Vending in Los Angeles.
Para mí es un gran orgullo estar organizando a vendedores ambulantes, ya que son vendedores con mucha dignidad. Su trabajo debe de ser respetado dignamente.
For me, it's a great sort of pride to organize the street vendors because they do a job that is really dignified and they should be treated accordingly.
Ustedes, concejales, tienen un compromiso moral con los vendedores, ya que representan a la cantidad más grande en sus distritos.
You city council members have a moral obligation to represent your constituents because you have the highest number of constituents in your districts.
Una de las cosas es que cuando se habla del veto de negocio, eso va a abrir la puerta para que sigan extorsionando a vendedores ambulantes.
When you're talking about the veto of the businesses, what you're doing with us, you're creating an opportunity for extortion to our vendors.
Y eso significa que a los vendedores ambulantes se les está viendo como vendedores de baja categoría.
And with that, what you're doing is that the street vendors are being seen as low-class vendors, you know?
Y eso también abre la puerta para que discriminen y sean racistas hacia los vendedores ambulantes.
And with that, what you're creating is discrimination and racism towards the street vendors.
Queremos que apoyen una legalización justa y no al veto de negocio.
What we want is for you to create a fair street vending legalization and no to the veto to the business.
Gracias. Gracias.
Good afternoon. My name is Roberto, and I'm a resident of Bow Heights. And
I'm sorry, sir, your name?
Roberto. And I'm here just to support the street vendors of LA. Over the past couple of years, I've had the chance to work with them. And one of the things that I keep hearing is like the idea of 2 vendors per block and the business veto. And I think those two like concepts are like theorizing that this is like a population that doesn't exist and is gonna exist. But in reality, a lot of those folks are my neighbors and a lot of the people that I'm really close to in this city, in this community. And those folks are people who work really hard. And to me, what I'm hearing is that they're already an invisible people, that they don't exist, that we don't care about them. But in reality, these folks are taking care of children, attend our schools, and are part of our community organizations that improve our city. And so for me, I say no on the business veto, and specifically just because I want to see that folks are recognized as working people and not increase the displacement that is already existing in our city.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Carmina Calderon, and I'm an organizer with the East LA Community Corporation. I'm here to support a comprehensive and safe sidewalk vending act. Our vendors are willing to dialogue and reach an agreement, but we do not want a business veto nor the 2 vendors per block. These would only further divide our communities, and these are communities that also deserve to make a living, and they're currently fighting for the right to work. You look at the women in this room that are there are vendors, and please allow them to move their families forward with dignity. Their work is not a crime. Wanting to survive is not a crime.
Thank you. Abraham Zavala, David Leviticus, and Wallace Locke.
Hello, good afternoon. My name is Abraham. I'm an organizer with the LA Street Vendor Campaign. I'm here in support of street vendors. I work with vendors every day. I see their struggle. I see what they have to do to maintain and support their family through this work. Before I organized, I was a history teacher, and today I was really happy to see high school students come out and do delegations with certain council members, certain offices, to put that forth the idea that business veto isn't where the city should go in, right? If we allow businesses to take power over another small business, it's going to create a lot of impacts in our communities. So hearing today the comments from several folks from Hollywood who are speaking on behalf of business associations, I'm actually glad the students left early to go back to school because I think they would be surprised to hear the comments of how vendors were described It's really shocking to hear that kind of language and talking about a population that's a working class population who is trying to make a living and actually make their dreams come true of perhaps one day owning a business themselves. So with that said, we're making history today and tomorrow, and we hope that folks line up on the right side of history and support one of the most working class communities in all of Los Angeles. So thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, good afternoon. My name is David Levitis. I am a historian and the founder, executive director of LA Forward. Represent about 7,000 folks in their 20s and 30s who care about the city deeply, believe in social justice, believe in kind of the dense urbanism we're coming to see in this city. Vendors, we're here to support vendors. We know that vendors are not apart from us, but are us. My great-grandmother was a street vendor, ended up owning a brick-and-mortar business of her own, became a success. It was an American dream. And we think that folks, I think our generation in particular, sees that these folks should have an opportunity to both enliven our city, but also to have opportunity to succeed and have their own American dream. In particular, it's very important that when we hear these health and safety concerns about places like Hollywood, that we we use a scalpel and not a sword. That there are tools we've heard that can, aside from bans in entire districts like Hollywood, or 2 vendors per block, that can address these problems. And we ask you to remove the business veto and not exclude Hollywood from vending. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Wallace Locke.
Thank you so much, council members. Wallace Locke, South Park Business Improvement District. South Park BID manages a 52-block district in the southeast corner of downtown LA that includes Staples Center and LA Live. So we are confronted with the realities of street vending on a weekly, if not daily basis. We support the sidewalk vending framework put forth by this committee over a year ago and would really like to see it adopted as soon as possible. In addition to that, we do believe that limits on the number of vendors per block and property owner or business owner consent are critical to making this framework work properly. The city needs to appoint one entity to oversee this, and we need to make sure there's adequate enforcement, including at night and on the weekends. Thank you so much, and we look forward to this being adopted as soon as possible. Thank you.
Okay, I believe that's going to close. I believe that will close the public comment. Did anyone not have an opportunity to speak that signed up? Okay, then we'll close the comment. I'd like to thank everyone for your comments and for your input today. And over the past 4 years, since Councilman Huizar and I first introduced this motion, with subsequent support from Councilmember Joe Busquiano, who helped develop the framework that we're working on today. It certainly has been a long time coming, but today we'll have a program framework to move forward to the council. And my goal is to have an ordinance in place by July, with the program fully operational this year. Based on reports we've gotten from our legal counsel, I'm going to make a recommendation to remove the business veto. I can't support a provision that could potentially lead to extortion of a vulnerable population. It's my job as an elected to make sure that everyone is treated fairly. Therefore, I'm going to be recommending that we create a process similar to our other public works permit processes that allows adjacent property owners to be notified of potential permits. This will include an appeals process, thereby giving businesses an opportunity to weigh in, while also protecting the vendors. In addition, colleagues, I'd also like to offer the following recommendations. One, that we approve the following from the proposed sidewalk vending regulations as outlined in attachment 3 of the November 3rd, 2017 CLA report. With general program provisions A, C through J, and L through T. That the responsibility of the sidewalk vending coordinator, the responsibility of the sidewalk vending coordinator, A through C, E through I, J, A, B, and C, and K. C, the client application requirements with the addition of H, route for mobile carts and photos or sketch of location for stationary carts, and I, liability insurance. D, operating requirements A through G, I, and J with the addition of Universal Studios, K through R. The placement requirements A, B, C, and D, 1 through 7, 12 through 14, 17, and 18. Monitoring and compliance with the addition of suspension of permit if selling illegal or counterfeit goods. 2, request the city attorney to prepare and present an ordinance to establish a sidewalk vending program as approved by the council. Create a special fund for the deposit and expenditure of permit fees and collected fees. 3, instruct the CLA with the assistance of the city attorney and Bureau of Engineering to work with each council office to determine expansion, restriction, or prohibition of sidewalk vending in each of the respective council districts based on legitimate health and safety concerns as outlined in attachment 2 of the November 3rd, 2017 CLA report, as well as a location requested by the LA Police Department or the LA Fire Department, and report to council with a list of areas that should be considered for special vending districts or no vending. 4, instruct the CLA with the assistance of city attorney and public works to establish a process by which adjacent property owners can be notified of a potential vending permit, including an appeals process similar to the city's sidewalk dining and above-ground facility permit processes. 5, instruct the city administrative officer with the assistance of the CLA, EWDD, and the Bureau of Street Services to report with a fee study and budget plan, including staffing requirements for implementing and enforcement of the proposed sidewalk vending program, including initial startup costs and a plan to get us to enforcement funding at a level described in Table 2, page 4 of Attachment 2 of the November 3rd, 2017 CLA report, with the goal of full cost recovery that factors in general revenue from gross receipts and permit fees generated by the program. 6, instruct the CLA and CAO with the assistance of the city attorney to examine license pricing based on costs per square foot of nearby commercial space. 7, instruct the city clerk with the assistance of the city attorney to report with options to facilitate the collection of fees from permitted sidewalk vendors who locate within a business improvement district, with said fees going toward the business improvement district's operating costs. 8, instruct the CLA with the assistance of EWDD and Recreation and Parks and any other departments as necessary to draft a request for proposals to solicit service providers to operate the proposed sidewalk vending program as approved by the council, including community outreach, application assistance, legal counsel, and expungement services. 9, request the city attorney with the assistance of the CLA and EWDD to establish a formal partnership with the Los Angeles County Public Health Department through a memorandum of agreement specifying the conditions and provisions, including shared space, resources, plan check inspectors, and staff. 10, request the city attorney with the assistance of the CLA, Public Works, and LAPD to report to the council on enforcement protocols including confiscation for sidewalk vending. 11, instruct the EWDD with the assistance of the CLA and any other departments as needed to report to council with creation of a fact sheet in multiple languages that indicates the requirements for vending, options to provide incentives for the sale of healthy food, including reduced permit fees, explore the concept of sidewalk vending business cooperatives as a future business model, and establish a recycling component to safely dispose of unwanted carts. E, the feasibility of partnering with a manufacturer to produce carts that have already been approved by the LA County Public Health Department. 12, instruct the EWDD, BSS, and CLA in conjunction with the Information Technology Agency and the Office of Finance to develop an online system for vendor registration, issuance of certificates of operation, and a mobile site for enforcement officers that shows registered locations and permit holders. And finally, instruct EWDD with the assistance of ITA to develop an interactive informational website that provides access to rules and regulations, permit requirements and processes, and any other relevant information for the city's sidewalk vending program with material available in multiple language. Colleagues, I know this is a lot. We spent a lot of time on it, and certainly welcome your thoughts or suggestions at this point prior to moving forward. Mr. Buscaino.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We have come a long way to where what we have before us. I do want to commend the authors of this initial motion. It's funny how we've come to full circle here. You have two council members before you, the chairman and Mr. Weezar, that introduced the motion, and I second it in, 2014? And it has been a while. And this has never been tackled. This has never been done before. So, of course, this is something that couldn't happen overnight. A comprehensive sidewalk vending policy that's before us today. Let me tell you, colleagues, why I seconded that motion. As a senior lead officer, one of the main complaints I had to tackle was street vending, and something that I've mentioned in this committee before. Being able to address and be responsive to the community business concerns was a challenge. It's clearly a challenge because the enforcement clearly at the time didn't work. It was a whack-a-mole. You would enforce, move somebody along. Oftentimes, we would have to work with the county health department, confiscate goods, and it just wasn't effective. To the point where throughout the city, not having a policy has failed everyone, from vendors to businesses to local economy. And it was important for me to second that because I wanted to move forward on providing rules and regulations to have a legalized vending policy that works for everyone. And I believe when both sides are not happy, that's called a compromise. And I feel that what we have before us is a compromise. I do have some concerns, and I've seen the impacts of, vending and successes of street vendings from folks who, like Roy Choi, who've moved from the streets now to brick and mortar. I encourage you to visit Chori Man on Alma Street in San Pedro. He started on the streets, now has his own business on Alma Street called Chori Man, the best chorizo in all of Los Angeles. And these are just two stories among many others that have been successful. This has also been an industry that's been in the shadows. A food culture that has been embraced by many, from Silmar to San Pedro, and those who, I see the faces here that want to provide for their families and do everything they can to put food on the table. I also feel that when addressing the issues of the highly impacted locations of venues such as LA Live, Universal Studios, Hollywood and Highland, Dodger Stadium, that we have something in place that's going to address those concerns. However, I want to ask if I can bring up the city attorney. I want to say to those who came before us and had concerns about sidewalks being blocked, tourism is very important to me. I chair the tourism committee. And if we are scaring our visitors and not having pleasant experiences, say, along Hollywood Boulevard, then we're not doing justice to our tourism industry. So I want to say to those who came before us and had raised concerns of those impacted areas, those venues, that help is on the way. But I want to hear from the city attorney, how quickly can we turn around this ordinance so that we can have the rules and regulations in place? Can you share with us, Ms. Flores, how quickly we can get this ordinance, once approved by the council, how quickly can we get this back to us?
Thank you. We will make an effort to get the ordinance back within 60 days. There was a lot of instruction. We'd like to have it back before summer. If you want, we can include an urgency measure so that the ordinance takes effect upon publication, not 31 days thereafter.
Yeah, I would move on that. I would move on the urgency clause. It was important for this council, thanks Valerie, to embrace, in response to the Trump administration, finding every way we can to decriminalize vending, and we were successful in doing that, almost, I believe, unanimously. And what we did by decriminalizing vending, we removed the misdemeanors and kicked it to the ACE program. And if while I have Ms. Flores here, just for the public knowledge, can you just explain to us the difference between an ACE citation and a criminal infraction citation?
The main difference is that ACE citations are administrative, not criminal. They, if not paid, do not turn into any sort of a bench warrant that can be prosecuted criminally, unlike infractions.
And if you look at the ACE program today, what are current fines for vending under the ACE program?
I believe we have a representative from our office who works with the ACE program, Mr. Mangan, or maybe he left. I believe they start at $50, but I don't have that information right in front of me.
So the first violation, ACE violation, is $250. That's what I understand. Correct?
Oh, you mean the proposed?
No. Currently, what's before on the enforcement piece on the ACE program, I believe it's the first violation is $250.
Oh, okay. We believe a first violation is $100, second $150, third $200, and fourth permit revocation. No. Okay.
Let's have some order, please.
Let us get back to you on that. Since there's
He's
some
not here,
confusion about
the ACE administrator?
No, he was here, but I don't see him any longer.
Maybe we can get the ACE administrator
because
back.
I just wanted to see, in this last year, since we decriminalized street vending, how many citations have been issued, how many have been paid. And I do know we have LAPD here. I want to think, can we have Captain Pinto come forward and... Okay, thank you. We understand.
Please, thank you.
So in your experience, Captain Pinto, on what's before, what we use as an enforcement piece on the ACE program, has that been an effective tool to deter some of the quality of life concerns that we've heard from our business community?
I can speak for Hollywood Division.
For Hollywood Division.
Yeah, Hollywood and Highland. I've been the patrol captain there for the last 10 months. And our senior lead officers and our officers assigned to that district have written several, close to 3,000 in the last 12 to 16 months. And I think 500 of those were specifically addressing vending issues. And I'd have to confer with the city attorney's office as far as the effectiveness. We do have, as mentioned, I know it's anecdotal, but we do have several repeat offenders, if you want to call it that. I'm not sure how that plays out in the city attorney's office, but I can speak for it's a challenge that we have with the spirit of the law and the letter of the law that we're working with through the ACE program.
So you can cite someone at the corner of Hollywood and Highland, say 10 or 15 times, and city attorney, clearly that does not turn into a warrant, correct?
Correct. Even if unpaid, it can never turn into a warrant.
So that is a concern I have, and going back to the reason why I seconded this motion back in 2014 is to have an ordinance and some regulations that has teeth to it. And I understand why we decriminalize it based on what took place at the White House on the deportation issues. I too had those concerns. But I feel under the new SB 54, these violations are on the deportation issue. Those are serious criminal violations and criminal charges that will deport folks in this state if they commit vicious acts. But I want to hear on, do you feel that the ACE program are effective based on this?
We've seen a lot of repeat offenders, specifically at Hollywood and Highland along the Hollywood corridor and the Sunset corridor. And I think it's one of the challenges that as a city we're working through. As you said, as an enforcement tool, it's something we do utilize, but as far as repeat offenders, we're seeing the same people come back over and over. And some of these are organized, as I think maybe mentioned earlier, truckloads of people coming with vending carts on the weekends. And I think maybe that's one of the issues is the business type, not the small the single cart type things where we're hoping education is our primary focus and not necessarily the enforcement piece. So to answer your question, Councilman, it's always been a challenge for us in Hollywood Boulevard.
And I'd say, it wouldn't be fair because we don't have policies in place just yet and rules and regulations to the LA Live folks, the Hollywood and Highland individuals who testified. We are being responsive to your concerns, maybe not tomorrow, and this is why it's important to have something in place and to get the city attorney's office to, I would hope, Ms. Flores, something before the 60 days so that we can be responsive to some of the concerns that have been raised in committee today. So, Mr. Chair, if I can just request, I'd like to know with the request of the city attorney and along with LAPD to report on the total amount of ACE citations issued under LAMC 4200 from February 15th to present, including the number that have been paid and the number that are delinquent. If I can get that as amended so that we can get some information when this ordinance comes
back.
before
I
us.
think that's appropriate. And I share concerns of the councilman to do this sooner than later. I know it's been 5 years. So what's another year, right? No, just kidding.
No, of course.
We don't want any more. But we would like that response back from not only city attorney, but CLA and all the others as quickly as possible.
We'll work through that through the Harry Ito. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Ms.
you.
Flores, if we can get that ordinance and work with our city attorney sooner than the 60 days and get something quickly. Have you guys even started drafting the ordinance? I believe you know what's coming, but do we know if you all began drafting the ordinance?
Well, nothing until tomorrow.
I understand that, but
tomorrow.
Again, the full council hasn't even asked us to start
I understand.
drafting. So, and again, this is a very complex ordinance. We too want to, get your policy will on calendar soon, but reasonably, it's just a very complex ordinance to even bring back in 60 days. It involves a lot of, it's a new regulatory scheme, basically.
Understood.
Well, we do want to get it right. Time is of the essence, but we do want to get it right. And enforcement is a big part of the program for vendors and for businesses and for consumers. And so we want to make sure everybody is on the same page. Councilman, any other thoughts?
Thank you.
Yeah. Councilman?
Mr. Chair, for your work, and Mr. Boscaino for your work. We certainly have come a long way. And as we make legislation in this city, you get to a point where you kind of recognize that it's finally moving forward, that something finally is happening. I kind of feel that way about sidewalk vending for the city of Los Angeles. I feel like we're finally on some footing where we're going to get some regulations that will benefit everyone. I think when we started the discussion, it was about supporting our street vendors who were frustrated about being chased by police in the dark and living in the shadows of the city. There were brick and mortar businesses who were frustrated about the vendors setting up shop in front of their places. We also wanted to ensure that the public had safe food by making sure that anything that the city allows to operate on our sidewalks, that we have some health permits that go with it. So it was frustration all along, and I think we recognized that we are one of the largest cities without a street vending ordinance, and we had to move forward. And then given our election, with our presidential election, even more impetus was given to make sure that our street vendors are protected as well. So, but given all that, I think we're finally at a place where we're moving forward, and we're putting the last touches on this, and that's a good sign to see. My question to the CLA is, after an applicant applies and it gets its health permits, if it's food, gets city approval, et cetera, there's a certificate of operation at that point. They just get it and can start operating already? Or have we thought out that far ahead of what the whole dynamic will be to get people's permits out there? You pushed the button, yeah.
Yeah, the idea is that after the applicant goes through the process and goes to the service provider and they receive some instruction or education from the service providers what the requirements are, they would then, the applicant would then proceed to obtain all the required permits, which includes the county health permit in the cases where the vendor wants to sell food items. But in addition to that, there's also the city public works permit that would have to be issued, and also a state seller's permit and a City of Los Angeles business tax registration certificate. So once that happens, then they would issue a certificate of operation certifying that they have met all the requirements, all the permit requirements. So yes, at that point, they would be able to, and the location would have been identified prior to that. So by the time they get the certificate of operation, they should be ready to operate.
What happens if there's an appeal for their permit? Would they still be able to continue to operate under the certificate of operation, or does it stop their right to continue to operate?
The way our office envisioned this happening is if there's any type of appeal, any type of protest, or any type of statement issued by anybody who does not want the vendor at that location, it would happen prior to issuance of the certificate of operation. We believe that by that point, the vendor would have invested in building their business, so it would make sense to have that done prior to it. That's not to say that at any point in the future they couldn't also protest in case the vendor was violating the regulations. That would be another opportunity for individuals to say, well, this person is not complying with the regulations. We'd like to have them removed or whatever the case may be. But that is a protest to the behavior of that vendor. I think it's a different process if you're protesting the location altogether.
Okay, so would they be able to continue to operate if there is an appeal or not? Or they have to cease all operations?
Well, at this point, we don't have a process for the appeals process.
I got it, okay, if we do, okay. So I'd like to ask that as a report back, that we look into the possibility of a temporary certificate operation once an applicant receives all the necessary county health permits and city sign-offs should an appeal take place, and that's the regime that we take up. And also, are parklets considered part of sidewalks or not?
Are parklets considered part of
That part of the
sidewalks?
ordinance? Would parklets fall under the jurisdiction of this ordinance?
They can, they're under the control and management of the Department of Recreation and Parks.
I think so. I'd like to ask that they be included, Mr. Chair, because if you think about our whole People Street movement, and we're extending sidewalks by creating parklets, so it is part of that. And any policy that we create in the future should include some policy that incorporates parklets if we're talking about sidewalks. It's part of the kind of public space and whatever regulation we come up with, whether some people like it or not, I think that public space is part of the sidewalk. So,
I know the Parks and Rec is preparing a report on vending, and we've also included them in collaboration.
We're talking parklets, not parks.
Parklets, not parks, though.
I know. I thought parklets, they have the parklets too. Yeah, Parks and Rec has parklets.
So Valerie,
So who oversees parklets in the city? The same people that oversee sidewalks? Public,
No, the Board of Recreation and Parks.
they oversee parklets?
If they're dedicated park property, so.
No, I doubt that. Recreation and
Okay,
parks. Yes, sir.
Hi, Greg Spots
I
from
think
Street Services.
I think you think we're talking pocket parks, Valerie.
Yeah, no.
The sidewalk parklets?
Yeah.
The Los Angeles Department of Transportation runs the People Street program,
Thank
which
you.
grants the rights to put a parklet in a parking space along the curb, and LADOT regulates those parklets.
Okay, so LADOT regulates those parklets, right?
Correct.
Yeah, okay. So, and who regulates our public sidewalks? Public Works? Public Works, okay. But are you from, what department are you from, sir? Can you come back, please? What department are you from?
I'm Greg Spots, Assistant Director of the Bureau of Street Services.
Okay. And as far as parklets are concerned, we consider them part of the sidewalk? Is that accurate or not? We couldn't
No,
part of the street.
it's the repurposing of a curbside parking space. And because LADOT governs the programming of the road surface, it's an LADOT program.
Okay.
You apply to LADOT to get a parklet through the People Street program, and generally it's a community group or the adjoining business that agrees to maintain that parklet.
Okay. But conceptually, if we think about what a parklet, the purpose of a parklet is an extension of a sidewalk. That's why we're building those, to create space, to create a destination point. And so if we would regulate sidewalks, we would imagine that space there should be under the same jurisdiction. So let me do this. I'll ask for a report back on that, whether it makes sense or not to add parklets to this ordinance and have input from the Department of Transportation and Bureau of Street Services, and particularly the people under People Street who have undertaken this project. Thank you. So if I could request those two report backs. Mr. Chair.
Okay, that'll be fine. Any other comments? And we will move forward with the recommendations as proposed, along with the two report backs by Councilman Busquiano and Councilman Huizar. And if there are no objection, members, that will be the order. Thank you. Anything else on our agenda, Mr. Clerk?
No, Mr. Chair.
This meeting is adjourned. Thank you.